representation from Gibela. Maybe you can introduce yourself and anyone else perhaps that is also in here at this stage. Mr. Loiso Gia.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Loiso Gia, the head of communications at Gibela. I think you only needed the introduction.
That's correct, but in the absence of your image, we are still left wondering where the voice is coming from.
Okay. Chair, can you please fix the video for Thokozani? Because we are trying to start the video, but it's unable.
Just wait, hold on, let's check.
So is the video locked, or what is happening, or are these now the expose of us not, not being fully acquainted with technology?
I think it's the combination. It's the combination of the above.
Because it's just a matter of clicking at the bottom, on your bottom left. There is that video icon. If you click and then you remove the red line, it should then allow your video to be on. Unless there are other odd settings maybe that were done to prevent you from viewing your video. Okay, otherwise we can continue in the meantime, just the introductions. I see Mr. T. Mabuya that is flashing on the screen. It's either maybe they've muted something. All right. Let's then continue with our program. There we go. You see it now, the faces are coming through. It could be that they were still doing makeup, trying to get themselves ready strategically. You'll never know. Okay, shall we give you an opportunity to attempt to introduce yourselves again? Now you are on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay. My name is Thokozani Mabuya. I'm the HR executive of Gibela Ray.
Thank you so much, sir. So at least now we can see you with the makeup on. All is well. Thank you. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, obviously others will introduce themselves as we go along and as we carry on with the conversation. Now, what is more critical about this approach that we are taking is that we're trying to get into conversation with a view of introducing a young person. A learner would be in grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, into the space of careers within the transport sector, with a primary focus within the rail space. So the conversation then will be more biased towards careers and opportunities that relate to rail. Obviously, the concept we are trying to marry is the concept of the heritage that would be closely aligned to rail. We can look at the evolution of the train or the rail space in itself, its origins, and in so doing, you are trying to tap into the thinking capacity of a young person to say that somebody had to think and had to think of providing a solution to what they deemed as a challenge or a problem at the time. And that gave birth to what we call rail subsector today. So I want us then, as we carry on with the conversation, to think of a young person who has to digest and be able to understand what we are talking about. The jargon that we use, it has to be easy enough for a young person who would be viewing the content, perhaps on Facebook, where we are streaming, or maybe later on using the link. So it's very important that we articulate this in a simpler form to ensure that there's better understanding. So before we move any further, I want to check with Brasem, that is somewhere now. If he can just introduce us broadly into the rail subsector, maybe from a TITA's perspective, as to how do we view rail as a subsector, and how does it interface with careers, and how does it interface with the industry as a whole. Brasem, maybe within 2 minutes or so, you can be able to summarize that. Mr. Mutau? Okay, it looks like there is an afternoon lagging. I'm not sure if it's related to after lunch, and then, people are still trying to digest and fully digest whatever it is that they had over lunch. Maybe then, if Brasem is struggling, let me move to Gibela. You can introduce us into the space, Gibela, so that Aminify Melena can get to understand what is Gibela and what do you do, and how can I then be attracted to your space. If possible, you can tap into the evolution of trains as well as the careers maybe that emanate from your space.
Okay, I will not take the space that is allocated to someone about the evolution of trains, but I will talk into or about Gibela, because we are in the manufacturing of trains, and then the intention maybe to take it back is to try to modernize the efforts of PRASA, and that for the past 50 plus years, as most of you might know, there's been very minimal investment on train manufacturing, and also limited investment on infrastructure, at least in the last 25 years. And also in improving the passenger rail, or the experience of passengers with respect to trains. So our company, through this project that we have with PRASA, we are aiming to position the trains as a preferred mode of transport. And by so doing, we also reduce, these are some of the positive spin-offs that would obviously reduce the traffics on the road, and also the carbon emissions. So we have a project where we manufacture trains for PRASA, and our project is such that the contract that we have is such that we are to manufacture 600 trains for PRASA. We have already manufactured about 60 trains already for PRASA, which goes to show that there is still future at Gibela, because we are yet to manufacture we're left with about 540 odd trains to manufacture. In the process of manufacturing, yes, we use cutting edge technology within our state-of-the-art factory, but also there are elements that require people, there are elements that are labor intensive. So there are job opportunities within Gibela, if I may put it that way. And also we are still in a growing mode, because relatively speaking, the project itself, Gibela itself, can still be classified as a relatively green field. So we are still on the ramping mode. So in that process, we are in a position, we are better positioned to create employment for people, and we are creating employment for people, and we are also better positioned to impact positively and sustainably to local economic development within the area that is around Gibela. the host communities, area around Gibela being Ekurhuleni and the relevant host communities, but also within Gauteng and the greater South Africa. And you spoke of the discussion being emulated or around addressing a grade 9 or a grade 11 pupil in terms of the opportunities that are out there and the relevance of Gibela to such a person. Gibela provides employment, and as I've highlighted, and we also have bursary opportunities. And then obviously the focus area, because of the evolution and the nature of the work that we do, the focus area for young people in terms of subjects is that it will be preferred that it will be people who are drawn from the learning streams that have got to do with math, science, and technology.
All right. Now that you are mentioning this, Thokozani, now I'm sitting here as a grade 9 learner. I'm now thinking, what sort of careers are related to manufacturing a train? Yes, I've seen a train moving from one point or one station to another, and other ones like they were using coal. And then I see now there are these ones that seem to be using electricity. So all of a sudden, my mind is going all over the place with the load shedding that is in place. Perhaps, like, can you enlighten us in terms of the careers, specifically that as a young person I can look forward to within train manufacturing or within Gibela?
We one would focus primarily. One can advise the learner to focus primarily on, again, as I said earlier on, that to position yourself, especially at from grade 9, it will be preferable that one chooses the streams of math, science, and technology. And in terms of the careers that we have careers that center around engineering, almost all aspects or facets of engineering, with, I think, with the primary or immediate focus on, one can look into mechanical, industrial, electrical, metallurgy, and also within robotics, etc. When one looks at that, one looks at the level of the university. You're also looking at the university, both ordinary universities and universities of technology, and also we also have opportunities or careers for artisans. Artisans within mainly it will be people that are drawn from your TVET colleges, artisans that are drawn from the streams of both mechanical, in the form of fitters and turners, and also in the form of on the electrical side, and then by extension also millwrights, both electrical and mechanical, also welding, boiler making, vehicle building, etc. And also it could be careers within the maintenance space, that is maintenance technicians, logistics. It could be also human sciences, like your human resource and development. Also, because it's not only manufacturing as in core, you also look at the other manufacturing support services or auxiliary support services, like people who are drawn from the streams of management sciences, finance, accounting. We've got opportunities for people drawn from those streams or in such careers.
All right, thank you so much, Thokozani. Now, because you mentioned the issue of artisans,
yeah,
I want to bring Loyiso in now. How do we then make, artisan-related careers sexier to ensure that there is more attractiveness? Because as I'm sure you may know that we are struggling in terms of attracting artisans in the country. So there is a focus in actually getting or training more artisans in the country. So how do I then make the artisan-related career sexier for a young person to look forward to this specific career? Loyiso, I'm throwing this at you.
Well, thank you, Sabelo. In fact, Chokozani is the appointed spokesperson on this matter, and I would not want to replace him without warning. So I would really love him to deal with the issue, because it falls squarely within his scope in HR. Thank you.
As you can see, politically, Loyiso is diverting the question and he's taking it back to Thokozani. Okay, Thokozani, then represent Loyiso well.
I see Loyiso is delegating upwards. Again, it starts with the, I think it starts with the subject choices that one will have to make, as I alluded earlier on. Then the question is, how do we make it sexier? I think for me, simply, we'll make it sexier. We'll make artisan development and the trade of artisans sexier by making it relevant to the South African labor market. It is going to be for companies like Gibela to create an environment that is conducive for the absorption of people who are drawn from artisan streams. Not only do we need to make conditions conducive for that, but we also need to communicate that to the outside world. And in the process of communicating that, we would have to do it directly by ourselves. But in order for it to go far, we would have to form strategic partnerships with the stakeholders like Twitter, and to use the channels and the streams of Twitter to make sure that Gibela is known, and also it is also known what Gibela can offer to the greater public and also to those that are within the labor market. And I am aware of the fact that there has been a trend that for the learners after matric, I think we are also part of that, we are products of that, you, after matric, you go to university, etc., etc. For some of us, it was because sometimes of lack of proper career guidance as to what is there, which is an alternative to universities. But companies like Gibela, as I say, we have opportunities for people who are drawn from artisan streams, and it is just for us to make sure that that is known to the greater public and to the labor market. And as I say, we can do that through ourselves and through people like Loyiso within Gibela, who's responsible for communication and also community engagement and development, and also in partnership with institutions like yourselves, that is the TIT.
All right, thank you so much. Agnes, I think maybe you should chip in here. Here we are talking about artisans, you know, and how do we then position artisan-related careers, you know, especially to these young people, so that they see something of interest and something of value. Because commonly you associate artisans with dirtiness, unattractiveness. You can imagine like somebody who is repairing or fixing trains. You would think of a diesel mechanic and how dirty they become. Perhaps like, you know, people who are fixing trains are wearing suits, who knows? How do we then position or package the messaging to promote artisan-related careers? Agnes?
Thank you, Mr. Mbuku. Thank you, Mr. Mbuku, and thank you to our colleagues in all spectrums for joining us this afternoon, especially our colleagues at Gibela, Loiso, and as well as Mr. Mabuya. On that particular question, Mr. Mbuku, my name is Agnes. I'm the Marketing and Events Lead at TITA. With a key focus on career guidance, and our career guidance development services, we do them on a national scale, hitting all corners of South Africa. Now, in answering your question of how do we now package artisan-related careers to be attractive or to be a choice for our learners who are, or our youth, or rather be safe on calling it our youth who are in school as well as out of school, because we do have youth who have finished school or who have decided, you know what, I don't want to continue with school because it's just not working out for me. So what do we do with them, including the ones that are in school youth? Artisan-related careers are the biggest or major contributors within the transport sector, meaning a lot of times when we ask or go around our career exhibitions, we're asking learners about what careers do they know in the transport sector. Everyone knows the driver, everyone knows the pilot, everyone knows the train driver, the bus driver, and the taxi driver. But as we have shared in our previous webinars, is that the driver is the end product in the transport industry. Before the driver is there, everything is steel. All modes of transport are just steel, and all of that steel has to be designed. And today, with our focus being in the rail sector, I'll just give prime examples on how key or how important the artisan-related or technical skills are in this sector. Now, with that steel being there, someone has to design it. That would be the engineers, right? Now, once the engineer is done with the designing in the top offices, someone has to put it together. And who is that? That would now have to be the welders would have to come through and put that steel together. Once the steel is together, someone has to spray paint it. And spray painting that locomotive, that is a job in itself. Sitting where I am right now in Randburg, if you were to ask me to go and spray paint a Shosholoza locomotive, I wouldn't even know how to mix the paint or what to even start with. But immediately when I see a locomotive being red on a railway, I would know that that is a Transnet locomotive. And how do I know? I'm identifying it by a color. But that color being there, it's a technical artisan-related job that is available within the rail sector. And for all of these artisan-related jobs to be taken up by our youth, or some people who want to be even crossing industries or careers, is that specialization is quite key. Even in the technical skills, there are specializations within the technical skills that need to be promoted more or known about, brought to light, precisely being put there. And that is why we normally go along with our stakeholders in the transport sector when we're having our career guidance, as well as teacher capacitation workshops, because we might think that, okay, it's the youth not knowing these careers, let's go and expose them to these careers, but the teachers as well, who are in the classrooms with our learners, are not aware of these different careers that we have, especially the technical ones that we have in the transport sector. Hence, we put forth that teacher capacitation workshops are key in conjunction with career guidance.
All right. I keep saying that Ms. Malesa is more of a politician. You know, when she gives you a response, she gives you the bulk of the information and then allow you to decide what you want to take out of what she has said. So she would cover a whole lot of elements. If we were to ask again, how do I make an artisan career sexier? One word answer. Ndate Thokozani,
Yeah,
you have shared your inputs. in terms of how we should package this. And then you also linked it back to Loyiso. Now, I want to introduce Lunga Jacobs from UJ. I think in your introduction of careers within, Gibela, you've touched on like it's a value chain that you went through, like including logistics. So I want to check with him as somebody who deals now with students that are at varsity. And obviously he's got a better assessment of how they are and their level of thinking based on, the grooming from a high school level. Mr. Jacobs, having listened to the conversation up to so far, what are the gaps that you are picking up from either the training modalities that we are using, or whether it be maybe the curriculum in our schooling system? What are the gaps that you are picking up, and how best can we then position some of the careers that we find in the rail space?
Yeah, this thing from Mr. Mabuya is rubbing off now. I'm muting myself, yes. Colleagues, as was mentioned, my name is Lunga from UJ, Lunga Jacobs from UJ, Transport and Supply Chain Department. I have to admit that it is very rare that I don't even recall having been part of a conversation on rail other than in my studies and all the issues around it. But it is a good thing, and it's a good start, especially at the levels we are thinking of here and taking it beyond. If I go to the highest level, I will admit to you that where we are at this point, there is no single South African rail textbook, to just give you an example. South African written, South African contextualized. So can you see that it is messed up right at the top as well? And so we are trying to just bring it down. Everything we teach out of overseas books, and then try to bring in context, continental as well as South African in specific and particular. It is the one mode, shamefully so, that is probably most known by all these students, whether they are studying or not. Everybody knows a train, everybody knows how to get to it and everything else. But these careers that have now been unpacked here, and the drive from higher education to actually begin to make inroads into these artisanal careers is a good thing. And what you guys at Gibela are doing is actually, I'm opening up my eyes more and more now, because I'm getting a sense that there's opportunity for growth and scope and expansion of what is happening, provided there can be synergies. Then on top of it, there's been too much a strong focus on the movement of goods of late. Mm-hmm. Right, and naturally so. It is to take all this cargo and trucks that is on our roads to bring off and put it onto rail, but very little happens on the passenger-centered focus for students. And the sexy part, Comrade Chair, to answer your question is to begin to bring in some of the careers that are probably not even known to be linked to rail, and they cross over. I mean, apart from to link the heritage part again, the concept was made of steam, and it's amazing if you look at it. Most literature on that explains the fourth industrial revolution, it starts with that steam engine picture there to show you that this is where it first began. Mm-hmm. And then in come everything else up to this high speed rail that we have. So it's probably the most practical discipline that one can teach and make these kids are aware of. I think the beauty in the teacher capacitation that is happening is evident and can be expanded on. I mean, there's so much you can teach from examples about rail, speed, weight, you name all of the other elements that you can incorporate either in a maths class or a science class, you know what I mean? And the careers in it, from tourism to engineering was mentioned, of course. Again, marketing and social media marketing, access to applications that gives you schedules and how these trains can run, demand planning, which routes are more important. Our situation here has some crazy aspect to it, Chairperson, in that if you think of the vandalism, the destruction that happens on our trains and everything else that goes with it, I see, I come from Cape Town, much as I've been based here a long time as well, but I see the importance of just how this problem is actually an opportunity from where I sit, in that that has room and ample room for a couple of other careers that can come in, you know, guys that would do the maintenance from the artisanal side. There's issues around signaling, for instance, you know, the painting. I mean, you take those very vandals who are spray painting our trains and train them to become professionals in this whole matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of the issues around it is there for us to plant the seed very early. Again, I mean, even in our reviews that we got was like, hey guys, we normally have a review of what we offer and say, hey, you have a very strong cargo and freight centered offering. And so this shift I appreciate very much, you know, because now it begins to bring it into the fray of the bigger conversation. So it is not probably the sexiest career, as you've said, Jay, but there's ample scope. I mean, if you look at what happens now with people even shopping whilst getting off at a train station, example.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Here's everything that Pick n Pay offers. I take a QR scanner from my phone, scan every product I need, the stuff gets delivered. That's a career and a couple of careers that can come out of there, you know. And it's that line of thinking that I think needs to match what our colleagues have at Gibela especially as well. From your side, Mr. Gia, I think we can have talks around that too when you do your community engagement and development. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
I think maybe if I can just chip in to on some of the points that were raised by Lunga.
Yes.
That which is an interesting one when he said that because it's good that he's in academia, to say that if I understood him correctly, that there isn't or he said something to the effect that there isn't a textbook that is properly written in South Africa about this particular industry. And I've said earlier on that we manufacture trains and we are, in terms of the objective or the purpose of our existence, part of it is we're in the process of train modernization and also a process of changing passenger experience. Part of that is that we need to be involved, and we are involved as Gibela in the knowledge generation. And we know that most of the activities that we are doing are still in their infancy, but we've already embedded ourselves into the entire value chain of train modernization, from manufacturing, in fact, starting from knowledge generation, as Lunga was saying, that because there is a gap there in terms of a unique story that can be taught at universities. That is why, as Gibela, we took a deliberate we took deliberate steps to embed ourselves into knowledge generation through partnering with institutions of higher learning. For example, we in TUT, we've got a research chair, and then we are also expanding ourselves in terms of partnering with other institutions of higher learning in the space again of knowledge generation by sponsoring those chairs, but also sponsoring in the form of bursaries, postgraduate levels up to PhD level. And again, it is intended to deeply embed or entrench ourselves into the entire value chain of train experience and train modernization and passenger and good passenger experience. And I'm quite certain that with the efforts that we are doing as Gibela, if I sit with Mr. Jacobs in five years' time from now and beyond, the narrative that he will have in terms of knowledge generation, and if one looks at the example that he made of textbooks, I'm hopeful that it will change, partly because of the efforts of Gibela.
All right. Thokozani, thank you for hijacking the space. I saw Loyiso was also coming in, you know, and then Thokozani overtook him. And I thought, yeah, Lunga, you've sparked something. Loyiso, did you want to say something?
Oh, yes, thank you, Chair. In fact, Thokozani did cover most of what I wanted to say, because when you look, for instance, at the train that we are currently manufacturing as Gibela, I mean, yeah. When you look at the weight of the train, is much lighter than the original train that is there. Number two, it is much more sensitive to the needs of the passenger. You know, for instance, we are able to accommodate people that are living with disabilities, which is something that was not there in the previous train. And then also, I think the sexy part of it is brought about by you know, facts like, for instance, that our train has a Wi-Fi, you know, which is something that you don't find in any mode of transport, I mean, currently. So those are some of the things that I think the partnership that we currently have, I mean, with institutions of higher learning and with TITA, that we can begin to build on those features and start now to package these careers in such a way that they become sexy, as you have put it, Chairperson, because it's all about packaging at the end of the day. You know, if we can package it in such a way that we are able to sell a lifestyle more than diesel and grease and all those kind of things, you know, I think there is a space for us to be able to do that, and this partnership will assist us to achieve that. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Now, I think we are getting to the zone where we get to understand that we've got a learner who must derive an interest into this space. And then the remodernization of the trains in terms of them being manufactured today, including Wi-Fi, which is encouraging to speak to 4IR demands. Now, I'm trying to check. There is clothing that is associated with artisans. And I do not think that clothing does maybe assist in really repackaging the message and making it more attractive to somebody who has associated the clothing with the sector in a manner that it is today. So has there been a thought in looking at how do we then remodel the clothing that is used by the technicians, artisans within the space of rail, to try and reposition the look and feel so that it does then attract a young person who aspires to wear the white garment that is worn by either the pilot or the doctors and all of that, which represents an element of elegance. So now how do we then look at the clothing, you know, of the sector, within the sector, especially for artisans? So I'm not sure who wants to take a bite on that.
Look, the the issue of clothing, the bulk of clothing in the industry is conceptualized around safety. And it is, if I may put it that way, it is purpose built around safety. So there are certain elements within clothing that we cannot compromise upon.
Yeah.
And yet there are also elements that we can improve upon to make it, to steal your weight, to make it sexier or sexy.
Yes.
For an example, in the case of Gibela, we put a very high premium on safety. As a consequence, we can't compromise on issues of safety when it comes to to clothing. But there are opportunities that are there that we have already explored and are in the process of implementing to make it much more sexier. For an example, Loiso would know, we are now in the process of exploring, and we've started in certain areas, especially during the summer months, the warmer months, of having, instead of having an ordinary overall as a top, but also of having a golf shirt, for an example, that is written Gibela, and also of making sure that when we look at the cuts, we make sure that we have the appropriate cuts for men and also appropriate cuts for women, and for it to look again, using the word sexier, both for men and also women. So there are opportunities and elements that are there that could be improved upon for cosmetic looks, and then there are also standard elements that are non-negotiable with respect to safety. So our uniform, if I may say it myself, it looks, and Loiso can attest to this, it looks quite sexy, beyond the realm of health and safety imperatives.
All right. No, thank you so much for that messaging. Now I want to check whether Mamuhato's connection is better. Obviously, she is in the education space, life orientation. Obviously, I want to check, Mamuhato, can you try and fiddle with your connection? Let's see if you are able to speak to us. Because my curiosity is, how do we position the messaging for a grade 9 learner who can easily be encouraged to divert from there to TVET college to do the artisan-related careers? So how do they package the messaging there? Because earlier on, we heard that there is resistance also from parents who are not willing to allow their kids not to go through the academic stream, to divert to a TVET, where they do artisan-related qualifications or careers. So I'm more curious to hear from Mamuhato in terms of how do they package the message at that level. Mamuhato? Or is it a previous connection? She's not present.
No, she is present.
I think
she's having challenges with her video.
With her video.
Yeah.
I think just to chip in again, Mr. Mbogo, I think it is important to, when we package it, there are people who are more artistic than me in packaging things, like Lois. So yes. when we package it to a learner, we should package it as being an artisan, as not being an end in itself, but it's a career. It can also be part of the career evolution. And I've seen it also in other industries, and it is something that we aspire to emulate also here at Gibela. For an example, a person can come in as an artisan after TVET college, etc. And once a person is in at Gibela, there are a number of opportunities within the company that one can pursue for personal development or career specific development. Am I still on?
Yeah, you are on,
okay,
but
yeah.
You were hiding your face there.
I see. There was an incoming call. So it is important that it is packaged as a career. And you also spoke of the uniform and that people sometimes they like to wear white shirts, etc., etc. It can lead into that. For an example, one can come in as an artisan, and then through opportunities that are within, one can grow their careers to a point where one acquires a GCC, a government certificate of competence, and through the internal courses that we have in partnership with other institutions, one's career can graduate even to a point where one becomes the head of engineering. And then when you are head of engineering, you came in as an artisan, you can grow up to a point where you become a head of engineering. And or take the stream if you are interested. Once you are inside the company, you move from the technical, that is engineering, more to manufacturing. Once you are inside, and you can also be the head of manufacturing of Gibela or any other company. And then if the prospect or the wish of wearing a white shirt was shining on the horizon, before you know it, you are there. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that it needs to be packaged as a career with clear steps of that career evolution, that you do not come in you would not come in as an artisan and end as an artisan. There are a number of opportunities that are within, obviously depending on what the organizations provide, organizations like Gibela provide, and also depending on the aspirations of the individual.
All right. Now, thank you so much, Thokozani. I think let's take a shift to really identify now with the character traits of a person who must then aspire or venture into the space of rail. What are those character traits maybe that you can highlight? Maybe you can name 2 or 3 core that you feel like, if you really want to survive and make it in this space, at least you need to possess these key 3 things.
I think hardworking comes standard, and one has got to embrace the concept of teamwork, because everything that we do here can only be sustainable and succeed if we emphasize and practice teamwork, because we work within teams. So teamwork is important. Mm-hmm. And also one has got to be analytical, quite analytical, because and be solutions driven, and because not all problems or challenges once you are in are going to be from the textbook. So it is very important for one to be able to diagnose and analyze the situation that or any challenge that is before them, with the hope of coming with a solution. So someone who's analytical in orientation, it will put them in good stead. And what else? The dedication, and also must be resilient. I think I've gone beyond 3 here.
So I can see HR is overtaking you now, because you are getting into the zone now. Yeah. Lunga, very quickly, when you are in the academic side of things, and then now we are talking technical, these are technical qualifications. It's a technical demand. Artisans are needed in the sector, but transport is broad. There are those that are in academics in universities that needs to come back to this environment. What sort of personalities are we looking at, that should be able to plug into any sector within the transport space?
Oh, yeah, sure, thanks. I wanted to add something that we probably didn't touch on in this discussion much, as it still does, and it's the commuter. The commuter itself, there is issues around service levels and service level quality. Mm-hmm. There's even a serve-qual model that's used to actually evaluate all that. I have a student busy with that at his master's now. And then the fact that you're dealing with people, it's almost when Mr. Mabuya said resilient, I had the word thick-skinned in there as well. Because when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with another animal. Excuse the pun, but literally you have emotions running high because of trains being late, which brings me to another career, which is what you guys are busy with at TITA at this moment, which is communications. There is a serious need for proper communications using the necessary networks and the ability to be able to. So it's a person that needs to be patient when we talk skills, rail, and people. Patient, resilient, be able to go that extra mile, be able to think on their feet, etc., etc. So it's not a one size or person fits all. You need to have different traits, certainly, to be able to survive and make it happen. And also, you need to make it your business to know about the technical side of things. You know, if you are in supply chain within a rail environment, you need to be able to work the system, SAP or an ERP system that is used. That is a gap in itself at this point in time. You need to be able to know the parts so that, you know, each part has a certain maybe serial number or whatever the case is. So it's not just I come from, I have my degree, I know this. There's need to be able to and open to learn as well. Sure.
Right. Now, Hulisani, I think let me bring you in here. Obviously, we deal a lot with young people from, you know, high school, especially those who need to make those decisions. And then you would visit the schools with a view of selling career opportunities within the transport sector. So from what you've experienced, especially with young people, what is it that is so common with them, especially when you talk about careers within the rail space?
Thank you, Mr. Mbuku. My name is Borisani Taisa. Greetings to our stakeholders, greetings to the learners, and to my colleagues. What comes up mostly when we do the career exhibitions, mostly the learners, what the learners know in rail industry, the careers that they are aware of, they will tell you of the train driver, they will tell you of the pilot, not knowing that there are so many careers. There are so many careers. Like what my colleague has said, Agnes, to say, if a train has got the color, there's somebody who have painted it. So they don't know that there are so many careers there, but we as TITA, we try to, whenever we do this career exhibition, we try to inform our learners to say that we have got so many careers that our learners can take. You know, they can plan, they can be our engineers in the rail industry. There are so many careers in rail that they can take part of. So by doing so, we are getting so many learners showing interest in different areas that they were not aware of. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, Huli, I'm just curious, because we're talking heritage as well. Now, if we were to package our messaging in a manner that introduces the evolution of a train, and obviously the careers that keep cropping up because of the evolution, wouldn't that spark the thinking and enlarge the thinking capacity of a young person to look beyond what they study in a classroom or what they hear when exhibitors come and spend 2 minutes with them? So if you were to orientate them, you know, how the train was born, and then give them all of these little opportunities that keep cropping up, wouldn't that work better as you continue to advance these conversations with learners?
Yes, it would indeed, Mr. Buku. And as we as sitters, we encourage these learners to take part in those kind of careers. Because now the companies like Gibelas, they're building the trains from the beginning. Mr. Maguia have indicated that they've got so many large number of trains that they're building for PRASA. So we as TITA, we are kind of like bridging that gap between the sector, the industry itself, and the demand that the industry needs. So from building that train, we have got so many carriers that are needed there. We are as well in contact always with Gibela to say, as TITAs, what is that we can fund so that they can develop and train and learners or people who are more interested in those kind of careers. Because as TITA, one of our mandate is to ensure that we as a country, we are employing the citizens of the country. So we have to strengthen and empower the citizens of the country. So who are those citizens? It's our learners. They have to take those careers. So Gibela, the way Gibela it is, they are building the train from the beginning. Unlike when we are saying we are taking this part from this country. So each and every aspect, if you can look from the beginning of the building of that training, of the train, I mean. So there are so many carriers involved there. So as TITA, we are saying we have got.
Okay, I'm not sure if she's cut off from my side.
Yeah, we can't hear well.
Can you
she's
hear me?
frozen.
Okay.
Maybe that is a process of manufacturing a train. There is a freezing space in that process, and then you will be relieved later. Now, quickly, colleagues from Gibela, obviously we've run out of time. There is about 540 trains that must still be built. Now, that means there is an opportunity for a young person to think of a career within the train manufacturing. So can you just give me a hint of how long would 540 trains, how long would it take to build those trains or to manufacture those trains? And then just mention at least 5 key careers which are futuristic, so that in the years that you are going to mention, I can quickly position myself as a grade 9, that the minute I get to grade 12, this is what I want to do before Gibela finishes the project of building 540. How many years will it take for you to build them?
Yeah, Chair, before Thokozani comes in there, there is just something that I quickly wanted to highlight. I think it touches more on the issue of how we make these careers sexy.
Yes.
One, we must remember that historically, when we refer to artisan training, we would package that message as umsebenzi wezandla. And normally that is associated with people who were academically challenged, or I can say not very smart, you know. Now, there is an opportunity here that ourselves as Gibela, with our proximity to the communities, UJ with proximity to the students, TITA with proximity to the high school learners, that if we come together and begin to package these messages in such a way that they can reach the parent who has an influence on the career of a child. They can reach the student who has to make a decision on what is it that they want to do. And also they can reach a student who is at university and is trying maybe to carve a path of a particular stream of specialization. Now, these partnerships for me are very much key and are quite important, that beyond this particular discussion, we need to be able to say that how do we then, you know, as a triangular, go into our constituencies and be able to sell this particular message in such a way that it will change the narrative, you know, that is out there. Because I mean, there is something so powerful about the language. Once you begin to say that this is curved for people, umsebenzi wokwenza izandla, that has shifted the whole spectrum, you know, of artisans in such a way that even ourselves, who could have been in different careers, we were told that no, ungenza umsebenzi wezandla, yiba ngutithere, ube unesi. And that's it, you know. So now we need then to create those opportunities where we come together, package these messages, and go as a unit to our constituencies and begin to change the narrative. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Thokozani, I'm giving you 1 minute, 30 seconds. Ne? The duration or the time it will take to manufacture the trains, and then maybe just the top 5 careers that as a young person I must look forward to. You are on mute, sir. Your 1 minute, 30 seconds, it will end before you even speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
The way I'd rather approach is to try to paint what the future would look like. For an example, currently we're using trains that are, there was a stage where we're using trains that were propelled by diesel. And as a source of power, we're now using trains. We still have diesel in certain areas. We now have trains that uses electricity. There are also challenges with electricity, how we acquire electricity, coal, etc., etc. And we are going to be moving progressively into the future, the way I see it, to a mode where we need to use different alternatives to electricity. So we renewable energy, etc., etc. So in the engineering space, for an example, the learners need to start to think about the engineering fields that will exist even when we do not rely on the primary mode or ordinary mode of electricity for the trains. The alternatives for the alternative power to move the trains that are safer and also sustainable. So that is how I would look into it. There are already careers that we are focusing on now, on the manufacturing lines, careers that have got to do, because we do have robots in the plant, careers that have got to, that are futuristic, that have got to do with robotics, automation engineers or automation engineering, and also careers within the space of continuous improvement, which is still part of industrial engineering.
All right, and then all of these, they require maths, science, as well as technology.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, let me quickly get Lunga because he's got something itching for 30 seconds. Lunga, you are on silent. You are on silent. Your 30 seconds is running off.
Sorry, I want to add, in Germany, grade 12s are doing what our seniors, third year and so are doing here. All of what we've spoken about, especially on the manufacturing space and artisanal space, runs through and by systems. That is a career that needs a strong investment in. I take, for an example, an ERP system, again, to repeat myself. These guys do this thing in high school, then they come to us as consultants and we pay them these exorbitant fees. You know what I mean? So this can be taught to a learner who has finished grade 12 or is in grade 12 to speak to the teachers especially. By the time they finish, they are equivalent to these other fellows from abroad, you know. And at the same time, all these parts, everything that gets ordered, stored, used, is recorded, and you need to know how that happens. Sales included, you know, accounting, payroll. So for me, the systems part is another element that has to be added to this current offering because it can be started very early as well in school.
All right, thank you so much, Lunga. Now, Mahozo, can I bring you in quickly just for a minute? You have had conversations with graduates from TVET College, from institutions of higher learning, whether it be UJ and the other institutions. Obviously, in your interaction and you interviewing these learners, there are things that you wish they could have known while they were still at school, because you are seeing maybe a gap, seeing them having graduated, but there is something missing that they could have learned at a high school level and maybe catch up with it, maybe at varsity. What are those key things that you think Lunga should take cognizance of and Thokozani should take cognizance of, so that as they package, you know, the conversations, even the curriculum that we use in different spaces, it can at least close those gaps, and then we can be able to move forward with a generation that is more readier to occupy spaces in the industry.
Okay, thank you, Sabela. Good afternoon, colleagues. As I move across the nation doing interviews for internships in service training, what I would normally come across is someone that was not sure as to what they wanted to be when they leave school. So by the time that they are in matric, and then that's when they hear about a specific career, unfortunately, the subject combination does not allow them to, you know, go into that particular, you know, industry or that field, and they are left with whatever that is being presented to them by the time that they reach the university or a TVET college. So I think I will still I will say exactly what they had been said. Grade 7, before they can actually choose their subject combination, that is where they need to be, you know, given information as to the different kind of careers that a person can actually pursue upon, you know, completing the matric. And once they have now done with this particular degrees or certificates, and you sit them with them in a boardroom interviewing them, you can see there's a lack of preparation in terms of actually going into the sector, how to conduct themselves, how to present themselves, how to sell themselves, you know, to the recruiter. And I think that is where also the institutions need to invest in terms of training them, preparing them for the post, you know, university or TVET college. How you're going to carry yourself when you sit in front of that panel. It is the first time, it's frightening. I understand that, you know, sitting in front of two people, it might be even someone of a different color. You have never, you know, haven't spoken to, you know, to that kind of a person. And I think that is very important. There's a couple of TVET colleges that I know that, you know, kind of bridging the gap in terms of preparing the learners or the graduates before they can, you know, start going for interviews, which is Ekurhuleni East College, where they are giving a work readiness program, yes, for a week. And you can actually, when we conducted the interview at that school for those learners that were having their N6, we could, you know, see the difference compared to other learners that their institutions are actually not running those kind of programs. And that problem is mostly in rural area TVET colleges. And the language, the command as well, it's the language command English, it's also a great challenge. So we don't know, I don't know, I'm gonna speak for myself, whether the issue is with the academic staff within the TVET colleges, or you know, it's just the learners' ignorance. We don't know, but I think we also need to look at the TVET colleges. They need to look at ways, especially the rural ones. And also when we go out there, because I think now there's a perception, yes, I'm almost running the Cummington and Sabelo. There's a perception that if you go to a TVET college, you are academically challenged. And that is where mostly you'll find that the learners, they don't want to go there. And most of the learners that are at those colleges, they will tell you, I went to a TVET college because I could not be accepted at the university or University of Technology. So this was the last option. Little do they know that there are so many vast opportunities that are there for them being from the TVET colleges, and it provides them with an opportunity to can do a work experiential learning which someone straight from the university doesn't have, and that is part of their program. By the time they leave and graduate with their diploma, they are a full package ready for the industry.
Right. Thank you so much, Makgotso. I can sense the passion. It's starting to creep in. And I could see Loyiso is itching to also say, the issue of language is our heritage. So English, we met it along the way. But when I struggle in English, I tap into my heritage. That is my own mother tongue. So yes, we need to close those gaps. Loyiso?
Yes, Chair. I think Makgotso raises very important question. Earlier on, you did ask that all of these things, they require maths. And the natural question that would come out of that is that what is it that we are doing to invest in our learners, when it comes to maths and science? Now, Makgotso mentions the work readiness program. And that is the program that Gibela is sponsoring actually under Mr. Mabuya. And also within SED, we've got the maths and science at TVET level, even at high school as well, where we give Saturday and school holiday classes. We've spent so far about more than 25 million in these. But when we do these careers, we realize that English is definitely a problem, and as such, we have added English, to be able to assist. Because in one school where I worked in my previous life, I had a teacher saying that walk, give verb, and that is an English teacher, And then I saw that there is no way that I'll be able to answer the question paper in English. So now we are doing. So far, we have invested so much, but I know that it is not enough. And that is why there is an important gap that needs to be closed between ourselves, academia, and also a teacher in tackling these programs. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Loyiso.
Mr. Mbogo.
Colleagues, unfortunately, time is against us. Let me check and see if there are pressing issues. Thokozana can only give you 30 seconds, literally. Because
yes,
I can
it's fine.
We need round two.
It's fine. What I wanted to say is that it's unfortunate that there are perceptions and stereotypes that are associated with TVET colleges and etc. in terms of who goes there, in terms of their natural aptitude, etc., etc. But there's also a positive side to all this, and that is lived experience. In that, in my career here, elsewhere, and also here at Gibela, I'm working with and living with young people who are drawn from TVET colleges, young people here at Gibela who are bright, who articulate, who know their story, who are masters of their trade, and who are very positive and organized. So there's also that story, which is a lived experience. I just wanted to put it out there. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much for marketing our TVET colleges. This will go a long way. All right. Yeah, colleagues, this is not enough. And obviously, we have started now, and we are hoping that we'll be able to generate these conversations on a monthly basis, looking at different subsectors, of specialization, so that we can derive more content and spark new thinking in how we approach career development services. And after having these kind of conversations, like we are going to do now with Gibela, we are going to come with cameras so that whatever that you've shared now, you are going to interview this learner that you are saying is from a TVET college, and then they show us exactly what they do. We package that in content that we are going to use, whether it be on SABC, on our virtual platforms, so that it's easier for me as a learner to digest the information and actually see what is it that these people do. And I believe with that, it's going to spark more interest, and we can at least, entice these learners to our spaces. So come the 1st of June, what you've promised shall be delivered. All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
So much, Lunga, Loyiso, Thokozani, Hulisani, colleagues. Thank you so much for coming through. Agnes Malesa, Emilia Musima, Tabiso something, and Mamuhato. The surname is not showing, so I don't want to butcher it, because it looks like I've been butchering people's surnames here. But then thank you so much, colleagues, for sharing this moment with us. And we trust and believe that going forward, we are going to grow from here and inspire young lives for the better. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Thank you.
Ending the session before before sharing the funding opportunities available from TITA.
It's fine.
Yeah. I won't be able to get one up, and I want to know 5 years. You may say, but I get it. You know, I get it. My minimum to kill myself with that. That's a good way. I think about to say, always a good way. I'm not to blame me. I'm not. I have. You got it.